Hi everyone, welcome to chapter 1. So let's get into a little bit about educational research. So research in general is systematic, it's rigorous. Again, the reason research even starts is typically from a posed question or a hypothesis. Through the research, they analyze data and draw conclusions. So in your research paper, you need to have 8 empirical studies. And your other two resources could also be empirical or they could be secondaries. So let's take a look at those. A primary source is an original document. So the data from a research study is considered primary or empirical because it comes straight from the participants. So you want to find direct studies that have participants and results. Now, secondary sources interpret primary sources. So a journal article may review different theories or different studies that have been done, but since it doesn't do its own study, it's considered a secondary source. Your lit review will be a secondary source because you're reviewing other people's information. So what about a peer-reviewed study versus a scholarly source? So I'm not too picky on this one, but just so you guys know the difference, peer-reviewed articles are published after they've been reviewed by peers in the field. They're typically the most authoritative information. They use a lot of citations and lead you to many articles from their references, but many times don't appear for a year or two because it takes time for them to be published and reviewed, so it may not be the most current topics. What about scholarly? So not all scholarly journals go through the peer review process, but oppositely, anything that's been peer reviewed can be considered scholarly. So how can you tell if an article is scholarly? First, you want to make sure it's an article. And again, if you go back to our syllabus, you'll see that list of articles and journals versus magazines, newspapers, the things that you do not want. So there should be a presence of several traits, right? It should have a lot of citations. It may or may not have an abstract. But in a study, there should be a section called method or methodology. It should have results and a conclusion or a discussion. It may or may not have charts and graphs. It typically has formal language and may have notes of when it was submitted. So your paper, again, you can see the outline this week in Blackboard, but you will choose a topic. You'll review the literature in your lit review, develop a research question and write a research proposal or your mock study. And then again, here's a breakdown of the entire paper. So the first part we're going to concentrate on is the lit review, and the second part we'll concentrate on is the proposed study. So how many pages? Again, when we kind of see the breakdown, your title page, abstract, and references right there is 4 pages. So typically a lit review is about 6 to 8 pages, the proposed study is 4 to 6 pages, and the conclusion is 1 page. So as you start analyzing your research articles, you may find that they take more of a quantitative approach or a qualitative approach. Quantitative is more about reading the numbers, kind of starting with what's the data, and then let's deduce from there what the solution or the results might be. Qualitative is different. It requires narrative data, so it's a little bit harder to analyze because it's in people's narrative rather than just in number form. So many times they will observe and gather data to kind of see what happens. They don't really have a clear um, goal right at the beginning many times, whereas the quantitative methods start with a very clear research question or hypothesis. So why are we having you write this lit review? Again, to discover best practices in child development, to learn more hopefully about a topic that is interesting to you, And again, get deeper into that topic so that you can be versed and knowledgeable of that area. So, what should you do when you're conducting your search for your articles? You want to start at first by keeping it simple, use descriptors and synonyms, read the abstract or the little summaries of the articles before just opening them. And if you find a really good one, go to their reference list and maybe start looking up those articles so you could review them as well. Advanced tips, I use EBSCOhost. That's my primary database. But then I also select PsycInfo and ERIC to search for articles. You can save your articles online, you can email them to yourself. And again, you'll need to schedule an appointment with Dr. Shelley to assist you in finding articles. So you should be doing that either week 3 or week 4. And really, if you're available starting next week, you can get started on that. All right, topic ideas we went over in class week 1. And again, they're listed on Blackboard for you. So please review those and email me with any questions.